You're addicted to losing, and the worst part is you don't even know it. You think failure just happens to you. You think it's bad luck, wrong timing, or that life just has something against you. But that's not true. The truth is you've made losing your comfort zone. You've built a home in failure, and now every time you lose, it feels familiar. It feels safe. You've turned losing into a habit, into an identity, into something that defines who you are. And until you face that addiction, you'll never escape it. Think about it. Every time you fall short, what do? You complain, you blame, you tell yourself it wasn't meant to be. You post quotes about patience. You say, maybe next time. You wrap your failure in justification so it doesn't sting as bad. You call it fate. You call it God's plan. But deep down, you know it's none of that. You know you didn't give your best. You know you had more to give, more to fight for, more to endure, but you stopped because losing felt easier than trying again. That's what addiction looks like. It's not about a substance. It's about a behavior that you repeat so many times that it starts to control you. Losing is no different. It gives you an emotional payoff. Every time you fail, you get attention. People tell you it's okay. They comfort you. They feed your ego by saying, you did your best. They make you feel like a victim, and that becomes your high. You crave that validation, that sympathy, that excuse to stay still. You've trained your mind to see failure as relief. Winning, on the other hand, demands sacrifice. It demands discomfort, discipline, and responsibility. Winning means you no longer get to say, I almost did it. You have to deliver. You have to prove. You have to perform. That pressure scares you. So you settle for losing because it's easier to pretend that life's unfair than to admit you've been lazy. It's easier to say you were unlucky than to admit you lacked focus. It's easier to cry about the results than to wake up early and change them. You wake up every day repeating the same patterns, expecting something different to happen. That's insanity. You want success, but your habits scream mediocrity. You say you're tired of losing, but your actions show you're comfortable with it. You talk about wanting more, but the moment it requires more effort, you run back to what's familiar. That's why nothing changes. You're not cursed. You're consistent in doing the wrong things. You've built emotional comfort in losing. When you fail, you already know what comes next. The sadness, the excuses, the validation. It's predictable, and humans love predictability. You'd rather stay in a predictable hell than risk stepping into an uncertain heaven. You've convinced yourself that losing is safer because it doesn't demand courage. You don't have to face judgment. You don't have to face responsibility. You don't have to face the pressure of success. And what happens when you win? People expect more from you. You can't hide behind excuses anymore. You can't call yourself unlucky. You can't play small. Winning exposes you. It forces you to maintain standards, to keep working, to evolve. That's why so many people self-sabotage the moment they start doing well. They panic when life gets good because their identity is built around struggle. They're addicted to being the underdog, addicted to being doubted, addicted to proving a point, but never actually finishing the race. You've made losing your language. You speak in defeat before you even start. You say, I'll try, not I will. You say, if it doesn't work, I'll find something else. Instead of, I'll make this work no matter what. That's the voice of a loser. That's the voice of addiction. And every time you repeat it, you strengthen the chains that keep you down. You're not fighting life. You're fighting yourself. The world doesn't owe you a win. It doesn't care about your intentions, your effort, or your excuses. It only responds to outcomes. But outcomes are built by habits. And your habits are built by what you tolerate. You've tolerated losing for too long. You've accepted it as part of who you are. That's why every time something gets hard, your instinct is to quit. That's why when things start going wrong, you don't adapt, you retreat. You go back to your addiction because failure feels like home. And deep down, you know it. You know that voice in your head that says, I'll do it tomorrow. Isn't fatigue, it's fear. You know that the reason you procrastinate isn't because you're lazy, it's because you're scared of seeing what you're truly capable of. Because if you actually gave everything you had, if you actually went all in and still failed, then you'd have to face the truth about yourself. That terrifies you. So instead, you half try, you half commit. And when it doesn't work, you say, "At least I tried." That's not trying. That's protecting your addiction. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you feed your addiction. Every time you make excuses instead of progress, you feed your addiction. Every time you convince yourself you'll start next week, you feed your addiction. You're not losing by accident, you're losing by choice. And as long as losing keeps giving you emotional comfort, you'll never escape it. Because addiction doesn't end when you say you're done. It ends when you change what you crave. And right now, you crave the safety of losing more than the risk of winning. Comfort is the most dangerous drug on the planet. It doesn't destroy you all at once, it kills you slowly, quietly, without you even realizing it. It makes you weak, soft, and unmotivated. You don't even notice it happening because comfort feels good. It feels safe. But that's the trap. That's how it wins. You think you're resting, but you're rotting. You think you're taking a break, but you're backing away from your potential. You think you're living peacefully, but what you're really doing is dying slowly. Comfort has become the new addiction, and it's the reason you'll never rise. Losers love comfort. They love it because comfort never demands accountability. It never asks you to prove yourself. It never challenges you. It gives you the illusion of happiness without the substance. You wake up late, scroll your phone, eat junk, and call it self-care. You waste hours watching others live their dreams while convincing yourself you're taking a break from chasing yours. That's not peace, that's poison disguised as pleasure. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're making a decision to stay average. You're trading your future for a few moments of ease. You're building a habit of weakness. Because once comfort gets in your system, it doesn't want to leave. It whispers to you every morning, telling you to hit snooze, to skip the workout, to relax a little longer. It tells you that tomorrow is a better day to start. It feeds you lies wrapped in softness. And the more you listen, the louder it gets, until one day it completely owns you. The truth is, comfort has ruined more men than failure ever did. Failure teaches. Failure builds strength. Failure makes you hungry. But comfort erases all of that. It dulls your instincts. It makes you forget what hunger feels like. It turns warriors into spectators. It makes you stop fighting, stop pushing, stop striving. You start settling for less money, less discipline, less pride. And before you know it, you've built a life where you survive instead of dominate. You see, comfort is a liar because it pretends to be the reward. It tells you, you've worked hard enough. You deserve this. But winners don't listen to that voice. Winners understand that comfort is not the goal, it's the enemy. Every great person you admire has one thing in common. They were never satisfied. They lived uncomfortable lives by choice. They understood that pain produces power and pressure produces purpose. Comfort produces nothing. It only takes. It steals your drive, your courage, your edge. It makes you forget that the world respects only those who push beyond what feels easy. You say you want success, but everything about your lifestyle screams comfort. You sleep too much, talk too much, rest too much, and grind too little. You reward yourself before you've earned anything. You think motivation will come find you while you're resting. It won't. Success doesn't visit the comfortable. It visits the disciplined. It comes to those who do what needs to be done even when it hurts. Comfort kills ambition because it convinces you that the smallest effort is enough. You do a little work and immediately think you've done something great. You chase shortcuts, easy wins, and instant gratification. But the moment things get hard, you run back to comfort like a child running to safety. You quit, you give up, and then you wonder why life never changes. It never changes because you never change what you're willing to endure. Pain is part of growth. Discomfort is a sign you're leveling up. Every time you resist the urge to relax, you get stronger. Every time you do the thing you don't feel like doing, you build self-respect. That's what winners understand. They live in discomfort by design. They wake up early when it's dark and cold because they know that discipline sharpens the mind. They say no to distractions, to laziness, to comfort, because they know that comfort is the breeding ground of mediocrity. The world has tricked you into believing that happiness means ease. But true happiness doesn't come from ease, it comes from victory. It comes from earning something that comfort could never give you. The taste of victory, the feeling of progress, the pride in self-control, those are things comfort will never provide. Comfort gives you temporary pleasure, but steals your long-term fulfillment. It's like sugar sweet for a moment, destructive in the long run. Every man who wants to rise must learn to destroy comfort before comfort destroys him. You have to rewire your brain to crave challenge, to seek discomfort, to hunt for pressure. Because pressure is what builds diamonds. Comfort builds dust. The difference between a man who wins and a man who watches others win is simple. One chooses discomfort every single day. The other chooses the couch. You want power. Then stop chasing peace. You want respect. Then stop chasing comfort. The most dangerous thing you can do is wake up every day and not feel any pressure. Pressure is what keeps you alive. Pressure reminds you that there's more to earn, more to build, more to prove. The absence of pressure is the presence of weakness. You're either growing or decaying. There's no in between. Comfort doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your dreams. It only cares about keeping you exactly where you are. It feeds your laziness, protects your fears, and makes you believe that mediocrity is okay. But it's not, because one day you'll wake up, look at your life, and realize that comfort stole everything from you: your fire, your edge, your hunger, your greatness, and you gave it away willingly. You keep lying to yourself every single day, and the worst part is you've gotten so good at it that you actually believe the lies. You tell yourself you tried. You tell yourself you gave your best. You tell yourself that maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But deep down, you know the truth. You didn't try. You tested. You didn't commit. You flirted with effort. You dipped your toes in discipline, but never dove into it. You gave enough to feel like you were doing something, but not enough to actually change your life. That's the lie that keeps you broke, keeps you weak, keeps you average. You stand in front of the mirror, convincing yourself that you're putting in the work, that you're grinding, that you're on the path. But you know exactly where you cut corners. You know exactly when you stopped pushing. You know when you chose comfort instead of challenge. You know the truth, but you bury it under layers of excuses so you can sleep at night. You've made lying to yourself a survival mechanism. You tell yourself stories that make you feel better about staying the same. You say you're working hard, but you're only working when it's convenient. You say you want success, but you only move when it's easy. You say you're giving your all, but your actions scream otherwise. You've confused motion with progress. You're busy but not effective. You're active but not advancing. You spend time on things that make you feel productive but don't move you forward. That's not effort, that's distraction disguised as discipline. Winners don't lie to themselves. They're brutally honest. They look in the mirror and admit their flaws. They don't sugarcoat their failures. They don't make excuses for their laziness. They face the truth even when it hurts. Because truth creates change, lies create comfort, and most people would rather feel comfortable in failure than uncomfortable in growth. You can't grow if you keep protecting your ego. You can't evolve if you keep lying about how hard you're trying. When you say, "I tried," what you really mean is, "I stopped when it got hard." Trying is temporary. It's conditional. It's a word people use to sound noble when they quit. At least I tried. That's the anthem of mediocrity. Winners don't try. They decide. They commit until it's done. There's no backup plan, no escape route, no excuse. You think trying gives you credit, but it doesn't. The world doesn't reward effort, it rewards results. And results don't come from half measures. You love the idea of success more than the reality of it. The idea feels good, it's exciting, motivating, inspiring. But the reality, it's boring, painful, repetitive, lonely. The reality is discipline, sacrifice, and doing the same difficult thing every day, even when you're tired. That's why most people don't make it. They want to look like they're chasing something, but not actually endure what it takes to achieve it. You want the outcome, but not the process. You want the reward without the suffering. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, but there's no right time. You tell yourself you're not ready, but readiness is a lie. No one is ever ready. The ones who win are the ones who start anyway. You're hiding behind excuses because you're scared of what would happen if you gave everything and still failed. That's why you lie. Because as long as you can say, I didn't really try my hardest, you can protect your ego. You can keep believing you could have won if you wanted to. It's safer to fail halfway than to fail fully. But that's how you trap yourself forever. You can't lie your way to greatness. You can't fake effort and expect real results. Every time you say, I'm doing my best, when you know you're not, you're building a habit of weakness. You're training your mind to accept mediocrity as normal. You're giving yourself permission to stay small. Every time you lie to yourself, you kill a little bit of your potential. You silence that voice inside you that knows you're capable of more. You tell people you're chasing your dreams, but most of the time, you're chasing comfort dressed up as ambition. You're doing just enough to look busy, to look like you care, but not enough to win. You're addicted to the feeling of trying, not the result of achieving. Trying gives you emotional relief. You get to say you're working, you get to post about it, talk about it, dream about it, but when it's time to do the painful, uncomfortable part, you disappear. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You don't need another plan. You don't need a perfect strategy. You need honesty. Brutal, uncomfortable honesty. You need to admit where you're lying to yourself. Admit that you're not giving 100%. Admit that you're choosing comfort. Admit that your actions don't match your goals. That's the only way things change. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, you stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop accepting failure as fate. You stop protecting your ego and start protecting your potential. The world doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about how many times you almost made it. It only cares about what you actually do. You can say you want success, but if you keep lying about the work, success will keep lying to you. You can't cheat effort. You can't fake grind. You can't pretend discipline. Either you live it or you don't. The truth always exposes the lie. And right now, the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the lie you keep telling yourself about how hard you're trying. The pain of losing is not your punishment, it's your teacher. The problem is you've been running from it instead of learning from it. Every time life hurts, you label it as unfair. Every time something goes wrong, you call it failure. But pain isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of it. Pain is the signal that something inside you needs to change. It's the world's way of saying, wake up. There's more to you than this. But you don't listen. You avoid it, numb it, hide from it, and then wonder why you stay the same. Pain is honest. It never lies. It tells you exactly where you're weak, exactly where you're lacking, exactly where you're not disciplined enough. But you treat it like an enemy when it's the only thing that actually cares enough to correct you. Comfort lies. Comfort tells you you're fine when you're not. Pain doesn't do that. Pain exposes the truth. That's why it hurts, because it's real. The truth always stings before it saves you. Every person you admire, every success story you look up to, every winner you've ever studied, they all learned through pain. They didn't get lucky. They didn't stumble into greatness. They went through hell and refused to stay there. They didn't let pain define them. They let it refine them. The only reason they became who they are is because they didn't run from the lessons hidden inside their suffering. Pain was their classroom, and they attended every single day. You, on the other hand, treat pain like it's the end of the world. The moment something hurts, you quit. The moment it gets uncomfortable, you stop. You tell yourself it's not worth it. You start searching for something easier, softer, safer. And that's why you never grow. You've built your life around avoiding pain, and in doing so, you've avoided progress. You've avoided becoming who you're meant to be. Because growth and pain are the same thing. You can't have one without the other. Pain is the price of transformation. There's no shortcut. You can't build strength without struggle. You can't develop confidence without facing fear. You can't gain wisdom without failure. Pain gives you the lessons that comfort never will. But you keep trying to skip the process. You want to be strong without being tested. You want to be respected without earning it. You want to win without bleeding for it. That's not how life works. The world doesn't give trophies to people who avoid the fight. It rewards those who go through the fire and come out sharper. The truth is, you're scared of pain because it forces you to see yourself for who you really are. When you're in pain, you can't hide behind excuses. You can't lie to yourself. Pain strips away the noise and shows you your reflection raw, unfiltered, uncomfortable. It shows you where you've been lazy, where you've been soft, where you've been faking it. It exposes the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be. That's why it hurts so much. It's not the situation that breaks you, it's the realization that you could have done more, been more, pushed more. Pain isn't against you. It's reminding you that you've been settling. You think pain is there to destroy you, but it's there to rebuild you. Every scar you carry tells a story about a battle you survived. Every wound you healed made you harder to break. Every time you suffered and still stood up, you became more dangerous, more disciplined, more unshakable. Pain is what forges the mindset that separates the average from the elite. It's not the wins that make a man strong, it's the losses he refuses to surrender to. You can't numb your way to greatness. You can't escape every hardship and still expect to be powerful. You have to sit in the pain. You have to face it. You have to let it teach you what comfort never will. The gym hurts, but it builds you. Waking up early hurts, but it disciplines you. Sacrificing pleasure hurts, but it elevates you. That's how you grow. Not by avoiding pain, but by understanding it, respecting it, mastering it. When you run from pain, you run from the very thing designed to make you unstoppable. Pain doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your excuses. It shows up to test your resolve. It's asking you, how bad do you really want it? Most people fail that test because they think pain means stop. Winners know pain means continue. Winners don't crumble, they adapt. They use pain as fuel. They convert every setback into energy. They turn heartbreak into hunger, failure into focus, rejection into revenge. That's the difference. Losers feel pain and retreat. Winners feel pain and rise. Every time you've fallen, every time someone counted you out, every time life punched you in the mouth, that was the universe asking, are you serious about this? Pain doesn't show up randomly. It's a filter. It separates the talkers from the doers, the weak from the strong, the dreamers from the warriors. Most people fail not because they lack potential, but because they lack the stomach for pain. They want easy success, painless progress, instant reward. But real power is built in suffering, in silence, in struggle. You have to rewire how you see pain. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Because every ounce of pain you've ever felt was preparing you for the next level. You just didn't see it. You let your emotions blind you to the lesson. But when you start to understand that pain is not the enemy, that it's the process, everything changes. Pain becomes your ally, your compass, your guide. It points you toward the areas of your life that need strength. It's not here to break you. It's here to build you. Winners don't negotiate with weakness. They don't sit down and have a conversation with that lazy voice inside their head that says, take it easy, or you've done enough. They silence it, they dominate it, because that voice, that whisper of comfort, that craving for rest, that excuse for delay, that's the enemy. And if you don't control it, it controls you. Every single person has that inner weakness. But the difference between those who rise and those who rot is simple. The strong refuse to listen. Weakness is seductive. It sounds reasonable. It sounds kind. It says, you need a break. It says, you'll start tomorrow. It says, you're only human. But that's how it wins, through logic, through softness, through comfort. Weakness doesn't scream, it whispers. It creeps in quietly until you start believing it's part of you. You think you're making smart choices when you're actually making soft ones. And those soft choices pile up until you look in the mirror one day and can't recognize yourself anymore. Winners don't let that happen. They draw a line in the sand. They decide that weakness is not allowed to speak. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They act. They don't debate with emotions. They command themselves to move because they understand something most people never will. Your feelings don't matter. Your actions do. Weak people live by emotion. Strong people live by principle. Weak people wait for motivation. Strong people move with discipline. Discipline is what kills weakness. It's not about being perfect. It's about being relentless. Discipline means doing what you said you'd do long after the mood has left you. It means showing up when it's raining, when you're tired, when no one's watching. It means executing without emotion. That's what separates men who lead from men who follow. The weak wake up and ask, how do I feel today? The strong wake up and say, I don't care how I feel, I have things to do. Weakness hides behind excuses. It tells you you're waiting for the right time. It tells you you're not ready yet. It tells you it's not your fault. It feeds your ego while stealing your edge. Every time you justify your lack of effort, you're feeding your weakness. Every time you procrastinate, you're feeding your weakness. Every time you talk about what you're going to do instead of actually doing it, you're feeding your weakness. You're either feeding your power or feeding your weakness. There is no middle ground. Most people think strength means feeling confident all the time. It doesn't. Strength is doing what's right when you feel like doing anything but that. Strength is dragging yourself through the mud because you refuse to stay stuck. Strength is standing up after every failure, not because you feel inspired, but because you refuse to be weak. The strong aren't fearless. They just refuse to let fear make their decisions. They've learned to operate through resistance, not around it. Every time you obey your weakness, you make it stronger. Every time you listen to that voice that says, I'll start later, it grows louder. And soon that voice owns you. You become its servant. You start making choices that feel good now but destroy you later. You start losing your discipline, your pride, your fire. That's why winners never negotiate with weakness, because they know the moment they give it an inch, it'll take everything. You can't build a strong life on weak decisions. You can't chase greatness with a soft mindset. Every dream you have requires pain. Every goal you want demands sacrifice. Weakness will always try to sell you the easy road, but that road leads nowhere. The strong know that the harder path is the only one that leads somewhere worth going. They don't avoid the pain. They walk straight into it because they understand that pain is temporary, but weakness can last forever if you let it. The strong don't wait for motivation to strike. They create their own energy. They move when they're tired. They push when they're discouraged. They build momentum from nothing because they understand that waiting is a trap. Motivation is not coming. Inspiration is not coming. The world doesn't owe you a spark. The only thing that changes your life is action, and weakness hates action. Weakness loves hesitation. It loves overthinking. It loves comfort. It dies when you move. That's why motion is power. When you move, you silence weakness. Weak people look for shortcuts. They look for easy formulas, hacks, and secrets. But there are no secrets. There's only work. There's only consistency. There's only the repetition of uncomfortable actions until they become your nature. Weakness can't survive in repetition. It's allergic to consistency. Every time you show up when you don't want to, you're killing weakness molecule by molecule. Every rep, every step, every hard decision, that's how you build power. The strongest people are not the loudest. They're not the ones shouting motivation online. They're the ones who suffer in silence and still show up. They're the ones who don't announce their grind. They live it. They don't seek validation. They seek mastery. And you can feel that difference. You can sense when someone has fought weakness and won. They carry a certain energy, calm, grounded, unshakable. Because when you've conquered yourself, nothing outside can conquer you. The moment you stop negotiating with weakness, everything changes. Your mind becomes sharper. Your habits become cleaner. Your decisions become faster. You stop wasting time debating with your emotions because you've trained them to obey you. Weakness loses its power over you because you no longer give it attention. It's not that life becomes easier, it's that you become harder to break. Weakness thrives in the minds of those who entertain it. Strength thrives in the minds of those who command it. You want to win, but you don't really want to pay the price. You want the result, not the process. You want the victory, not the sacrifice. And that's the problem. The world doesn't reward people who want it, rewards people who work. You can dream all day, talk all day, plan all day, but if you can't show up when it's hard, if you can't sacrifice when it hurts, then you're not built for greatness. Because winning demands a price, and most people are too cheap to pay it. Everyone loves the idea of success, the money, the respect, the recognition, but no one wants the pain that builds it. No one wants the nights of isolation, the failure, the rejection, the exhaustion. Everyone says they'd die for success, but they won't even wake up early for it. They won't sacrifice comfort, distractions, or ego, and that's why they lose. The universe doesn't give greatness to the comfortable. It gives it to those who can suffer longer, endure more, and stay focused when everything around them is falling apart. There's a reason why winners look obsessed, because they are. They've burned the bridge between themselves and comfort. They've accepted that winning isn't a sometimes thing. It's an all-the-time thing. It's not a switch you flip. It's a lifestyle you live. Winners wake up thinking about their goals. They breathe it. They bleed it. Their mind is locked in because they know that anything less than obsession won't survive in a world this competitive. The people who dabble, the people who half commit, the people who try only when it's convenient, they always lose to the one who's willing to suffer more. You see, there's no such thing as balance when you're chasing greatness. That's what the weak say to justify mediocrity. Balance is for those who want to be good at everything but great at nothing. The truth is, when you're trying to win, something has to give. Your sleep, your social life, your comfort, something must be sacrificed. You can't have it all. You can't party like the rest and expect to perform like the best. Winners understand this. They don't whine about what they gave up. They see sacrifice as the entry fee to success. The world will call you obsessed, crazy, unhealthy. Let them. Because they don't understand what it takes. They've never pushed themselves to point where it hurts to breathe, but you keep going anyway. They've never stayed up through the night grinding while everyone else sleeps peacefully. They've never chosen progress over pleasure or pain over peace. And that's why they'll never know what victory feels like. To them, comfort is success. To winners, comfort is the enemy. You can't build something legendary while trying to stay comfortable. Comfort kills growth. It's a slow death. It's the silent poison that takes your ambition first, then your discipline, then your identity. The moment you start seeking comfort, you stop evolving. The people who win are those who chase discomfort, who make pain familiar. They train in the dark, they fail in silence, they learn through humiliation, and they come out stronger because of it. The weak avoid the fire, the strong become it. Every win costs something. It might cost your time. It might cost your relationships. It might cost your sanity. But the cost is always there. The question is, are you willing to pay it? Because the price of success is always due up front. You can't cheat it. You can't fake it. You can't talk your way around it. The bill always comes, and those who can't pay it get left behind. Winners don't complain about the cost because they understand the value. They know that everything they want in life, every ounce of freedom, power, and respect is built on a foundation of sacrifice. People think they can choose when to sacrifice. They think they can delay the pain, but the truth is, you're going to suffer either way. You can suffer now for discipline or suffer later for regret. You can struggle to grow or you can struggle to live with what you never became. Either way, life will demand something from you. The difference is whether that suffering leads somewhere or not. Winners choose purposeful pain, the kind that builds them. Losers choose comfortable pain, the kind that destroys them slowly over time. There's no magic formula. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's endurance. It's the ability to keep moving when the excitement fades, when motivation dies, when the results take longer than expected. That's where winners are made. When everyone else gives up, the winner doubles down. When the weak seek comfort, the winner seeks challenge. When the crowd says it's impossible, the winner quietly works until it's done. Winning is lonely. That's the truth nobody wants to admit. There are no crowds cheering for you when you're putting in the work. There's no applause in the early mornings. No validation in the late nights. It's you against your excuses. You against your doubts. You against the temptation to quit. But that's where the transformation happens, in those unseen hours where you're doing what no one else is willing to do. You don't get to skip the struggle. You don't get to rise without falling first. Every great man, every legend, every winner was once broken. They just refused to stay that way. They used their pain as fuel, their failures as lessons, and their isolation as training. They embraced the dark, not because they loved it, but because they knew it was the only path to the light. And that's what separates those who win from those who wish the willingness to go through hell and still keep walking. The price of greatness is paid in silence. It's paid in sacrifice. It's paid in blood, sweat, and tears that nobody sees. And when you finally win, when you finally rise, the world will act like it happened overnight. But you'll know the truth. It was years of pain disguised as progress. It was every moment you refused to quit, every battle you fought with yourself, every sacrifice you made when no one believed. Because that's the real cost of winning. You've been told your whole life that success is about talent, luck, or timing, but it's not. It's about truth. The truth about who you are, what you're doing, and how much you're willing to give. Most people will never win because they're addicted to the comfort of losing. Losing feels safe. It gives them excuses. It lets them stay the same without guilt. But the ones who rise, the ones who dominate, are the ones who stare at their reflection and stop lying. They stop making excuses, they stop chasing comfort, and they stop accepting good enough. Winning doesn't belong to the smartest or the strongest. It belongs to the one who endures when everyone else quits. The one who accepts that pain is part of progress. The one who sacrifices comfort for purpose. The one who understands that greatness has a cost and pays it in full every single day. You can talk about potential, you can dream about success, but none of it matters until you act like you're done losing. So stop saying you'll try. Stop pretending you're grinding when you know you're not. Stop waiting for the perfect moment because it doesn't exist. The only moment that matters is now, the moment you decide to stop being addicted to losing and start being obsessed with winning. The moment you decide that your excuses are no longer your identity. The moment you realize that pain is not your enemy, comfort is. The truth is brutal, but it's freeing. You are exactly where your choices have brought you. And if you want a different life, you must become a different person. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Now, because the world doesn't wait for anyone. It rewards the ones who take control, who embrace the struggle, who live with discipline when everyone else lives with excuses. So look at yourself and ask, how much longer will you lie to yourself? How much longer will you chase comfort over change? How much longer will you choose losing just because it feels familiar? Because until you break that addiction, you'll never win. But the moment you do, the moment you stop playing small, stop pretending, stop hesitating, everything changes. That's when you become unstoppable. That's when you stop surviving and start conquering. That's when you finally win.